What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're coming at you with another fantasy football mock draft. We're going to do this on FantasyPros. It will be a 10-team full PPR mock where we are drafting from the first overall pick. Now, albeit it's still pretty early, it's May, things are going to change a lot, but it'll still be a fun exercise. The roster, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and then 5 bench spots. So that's pretty much it. Let's get into this thing. And we did do a way too early fantasy football mock draft, pretty much right after the NFL draft concluded. So it's been a little bit since then, a week, something like that. Let's dive back into it. Let's kind of prep the palette for what is going to be a great 2024 fantasy football season. And if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. Let us hear in the comment section if you agree or disagree along with any other questions. We'll do our best to answer them all. But with that being said, we're on the clock, first overall. And, I said it last year. I said it in our way too early fantasy mock draft. This year, I'm going to say it again. At the 101, I believe it is still Christian McCaffrey. Being able to get a difference maker at the running back position to the level that Christian McCaffrey is, to me, is just absolutely, sensational. Now, obviously, people are going to say, injuries, et cetera, et cetera. Look, you cannot factor injuries into this. Injuries are something we can't account for. We do our rankings as if these guys are going to play a fully healthy season. And when that is the case, Christian McCaffrey, the receptions that he has in full PPR, the way that offense is tailored to him, he is the 101. And let's not forget that. So Christian McCaffrey here, pretty quick. Let's see what happens, though, at the end of the second round, because I think this is where it's going to get pretty interesting. Let's pull up the draft board so far, and we'll dissect kind of what's happened. So Christian McCaffrey, then a run on wide receivers. Doesn't really surprise me. CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'd wager a guess that that's going to be, the first top 5 wide receivers, especially in PPR, I would say. The order, how you want to arrange it, it's right now a feeling out process. If you want to have CeeDee Lamb as the number 1 guy, that makes sense. If you want to have Tyreek Hill because of his big play upside, that also makes sense. If you want Justin Jefferson because of the raw ability, sure, no problem. Just realize that Kirk Cousins still isn't there, so that might be an issue. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a stud, but that's a loaded offense. So a lot of things to consider, but either way, can't go wrong with any of them. Then Breece Hall. I love Breece Hall. I've been saying this with Aaron Rodgers hopefully back this year at 100%. It's going to be a whole nother Jets offense. Then Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, sure. A.J. Brown. I'd have A.J. Brown a little bit lower. I personally prefer Garrett Wilson or even Puka Nacua in PPR formats. Then you see Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry in Baltimore. I think that's way too early, honestly, for him in a PPR format. The age is up there. You're going to have opportunities vultured via Lamar, so let's not forget that. I love the Garrett Wilson pick, Brendan Ayuk, Jahmyr Gibbs, Chris Olave, Kyron Williams. Again, Kyron Williams, interesting pick. I think it's a little bit too early, especially in a 10-team league, when you consider what the Rams did in the NFL draft in getting Quorum in that backfield, then Devontae Adams. So now we're in a situation where, if we go wide receiver, looking at the top guys, I think Marvin Harrison is ranked way too high as a top 10 wide receiver in his rookie season. That's my personal opinion. I'd rather, wait on a Malik Neighbors, for example. But looking at some other names, Michael Pittman, I do like. Drake London with Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, I think is very, very intriguing. Some other names, Stephon Diggs, kind of tempting, but I think it's probably better to wait. It's a very loaded wide receiver room there. We could go tight end. We can draft the first tight end off the board. It could be Laporta. It could be Travis Kelce. Trey McBride ranked pretty high so far. I think probably a little bit aggressive to put him in the tier 1 list. I know he was very good last year, but we'll see. Again, folks, Marvin Harrison has been added to that offense, it's going to be a little bit different. So right now, I think what we're going to do, I'm looking at the names on the board. I want to get high upside wide receivers. I like Michael Pittman. I like Drake London. Pittman had kind of that breakout year last year. I'm set at running back with Christian McCaffrey. So let's get two wide receivers that I'm high on. That will be Michael Pittman and then Drake London. I think Drake London could be in for a breakout season with the addition of Kirk Cousins. That's what it boils down to. And now, again, looking at the draft board, what has happened afterwards? And again, these teams will be top heavy. Let's keep that in mind. It's a 10-team league. I always like to stress that. So take with a grain of salt. But there's still a lot of people that do the 10-team league. So not hating on that. Sam Laporta, okay, Marvin Harrison, Rashad White, DJ Moore, Josh Allen, Travis Etienne, Jalen Hurts. Way too early for quarterbacks, in my opinion. A-Chain in Miami. Again, I say it with Wright being added there. What's going to happen with that Miami backfield? Still a little bit of a question mark for me. Travis Kelce, good value. Travis Kelce, where they got him. Josh Jacobs, Lamar, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper, Kamara, Pacheco, James Cook, Stephon Diggs, and now Patrick Mahomes. So, this third, fourth round was kind of running back, tight end, quarterback heavy. So some pretty decent talent has fallen to us at the wide receiver position potentially. Like Cooper Kupp still being available. Like to me, I think last year was a situation where he wasn't fully healthy. And then, they were feeding the hot hand with Puka Nacua. So to me, Cooper Kupp is like, if I can get him as my wide receiver 3, that's really, really good value. Deebo Samuel, I don't know if he's going to be traded or not. I lean yes, but they've added talent via the draft at the wide receiver position, so I don't necessarily love Deebo. I've also already got Christian McCaffrey. Nico Collins, I do like. Jalen Waddle, I like. I think he's a really good value right now at this point in time. Tight ends, if we went tight end, Trey McBride is still there. I'm not the biggest Mark Andrews fan. I just can never fully rely on that Baltimore offense to be aerial enough. Dalton Kincaid, Evan Ingram, George Kittle. There's some really, really good tight ends in the later tiers like Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, George Kittle. I mean, later on, getting TJ Hawkinson as a backup because I don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. So if we look at running backs, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, I don't love these guys. Joe Mixon in Houston, we'll see what happens there. Aaron Jones in Minnesota. That's intriguing. He's going to be the number 1 running back there. So having him as my number 2 running back, I think we could do a lot worse. He's definitely a short-term type of situation. So I'm intrigued by that. I'm intrigued by DeAndre Swift in Chicago. So those would probably be my 2 choices. I'm going to go with Aaron Jones with one of my first picks. And then actually I think there's a chance that he might drop to me, but I don't want to chance it because we're gonna pretty much have to wait 20 picks. So let's go ahead and land first Jalen Waddle. I think it's a very good value pick. And then at running back, we will go with Aaron Jones. It'll probably call it a reach. We'll see. But I think there's gonna be other running backs that are drafted here. So yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happened. So let's just show you. It was close. Now, again, it wasn't a lot of running backs, just the way the rankings were put up. But Joe Mixon, Ramondre, Kenneth Walker, Nick Chubb. I do think if Aaron Jones was still there, he would have been one of those selections. Some more quarterbacks, Anthony Richardson. Then in the next round, Joe Burrow, C.J. Stroud, Keenan Allen went. We see Nico Collins, good value. There goes another rookie, Malik Neighbors. Would have loved if Trey McBride fell to us at the end of the 6th round. I think that would have been a really good value. Dalton Kincaid, another tight end. So interesting here. I think we are in a good spot. And Cooper Kupp, folks, I mentioned him in the last round, is still available. Now I get him as my wide receiver 4. I think that's just really, really good value. Too good to pass up. DeAndre Swift is still there. I could go with the tight end that I like. So, man, we are spoiled with options. So let's go with Cooper Kupp. I think the value is just way too good. And to show you our roster, like Cooper Kupp is a bench play for us right now. So a lot of depth at that position. Quarterback, I'm not going to reach in a quarterback right now. I don't love any of these guys. Wide receiver, we're good at wide receiver. So I'm looking at tight end and I'm looking at running back. If I go tight end, I would probably if I'm going upside, Kyle Pitts, even though I already have Drake London, I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a pretty good year. If not, if I'm just keeping it simple, I'd probably go Evan Ingram, even though that offense has added some pieces and Brian Thomas. They did lose Calvin Ridley, though, so to be fair. But I think it makes sense to get another running back, and I think that DeAndre Swift potentially being the number one guy in Chicago is a good way to go. But let's look at our cheat sheet. Let's see where he ranks. So he's here, 70th overall. Evan Ingram. I do think there's going to be another tight end run, but let me just double check how many people have tight ends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, 4 more teams need tight ends. Maybe we just go with a tight end that we like right now. We're with McCaffrey and Aaron Jones. I think we're in a good spot with the running back situation. So it could be a lot worse. Let's go with Evan Ingram just to diversify this roster a little bit. I already have Drake London. I do think Kyle Pitts does have higher upside than Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram will just probably kind of be a safer guy. But yeah, it says, there was a high percent chance that he'd be available. It's tough to judge that. Even if one person selected a tight end, which I didn't expect no tight ends to go, that's pretty crazy. But oh well, live and learn. So now going back to our cheat sheet, if we were looking at running backs, I'm looking at these names. Jonathan Brooks is an intriguing guy, right? In Carolina, if we're talking rookies. Deontay, man, the takeaway right now is just the wide receiver depth is absolutely crazy. Calvin Ridley, Godwin, Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown. Man, a lot of names to really, really like. So, yeah, we can go in a lot of different directions here. Running back, I don't love the situation at running back right now. I'm going to wait and then see if I can get Jonathan Brooks later on as a potential breakout. Tight end, tight end, quarterback. If we go with quarterbacks, I'm looking at the names. I don't love any of the top guys here. Honestly, I'm just going to wait and draft like an Aaron Rodgers or something like that. So I'm just going to continue to get depth at wide receiver. Guys that I really, really like. I prefer some of these wide receivers a little bit more so than where they are ranked. George Pickens being the number one guy in Pittsburgh, I think it's pretty good value, honestly. So let's go with that, whether it's Russell Wilson, whether it's Justin Fields, good value pick. I also really like Deontay Johnson, I'm not going to lie to you. But, Kyle Pitts, I think, can be a breakout at the tight end position. I mentioned him before, potentially getting a little bit more depth there. So let's go ahead and just target breakouts right now. Let's go ahead and target breakouts. I'm going to draft Kyle Pitts, and then there was a little bit of a run on tight ends. We'll see if Jonathan Brooks goes, and he does, man. Jonathan Brooks went 2 picks right before us. Bummer. I didn't think that there'd be a big running back run like there was, but holy cow, man. That's pretty much all we had. Yeah, look at this 10th round. Holy cow. Jonathan Brooks. Oh, well. Again, we've got Christian McCaffrey, so that gives us a little bit of a buffer. But if I could redo this thing, I would probably have taken Jonathan Brooks a little bit earlier, et cetera, et cetera. But it's okay. We will take that into account in our next draft. Now, let's just continue. Again, I'm saying it to get the value picks, and there's so much value at wide receiver. Yeah, folks, you're not going to be in trouble if you put off wide receiver for longer than normal this year. But again, I do think these rankings will be adjusted. I'm getting at Marquise Brown and that offense with Kansas City. Yes, yeah, we have all the wide receivers, folks. We have all the wide receivers. Probably not going to get the highest grade because of our running back depth, but I'm okay with that. And then I'm just going to get a quarterback that I really like. And out of these guys, Aaron Rodgers is ranked way, way too low. It's going to call it a reach pick. I don't care. I'm telling you, Aaron Rodgers this year, if he didn't get hurt last year, it would have been a sensational year. So we're going to go with Aaron Rodgers here. Yeah, we didn't get a high grade, but kind of looking at our team, I think it's one that can be frisky. McCaffrey, so much depth at wide receiver. That's partially why we didn't get the highest grade, just because we loaded up on wide receivers. Can't play all of them. We got Aaron Jones. The running back depth could be better. We've got two tight ends that could be very high upside, and then I've got a quarterback. I always say it: if you hit on a quarterback later on, you put yourself in a really, really good position, and I feel pretty good about Aaron Rodgers. But hey, it's all right. Let me know your thoughts if you agree, disagree, in the comment section. If you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, give us a follow on Twitter at alldaypigskin to continue interacting with us there. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future